Hola amigos, this is a review that we did, un repaso que hicimos in the lesson number 6, but the possessive adjectives were introduced in lesson 2, I believe, and are on the lessons page. We learned them when we were dealing with family members, but I want to go through this because I have added the stories to give you the same story but changing perspective, point of view. And when you do that, you need to change the possessive adjective. So that is on this brief review, and I thought I would put it up online for you. We use possessive adjectives both in English and in Spanish every time you want to indicate something belongs to someone. And there are two steps that we in Spanish need to consider so that we get these right. The first step is to determine who owns the thing and then choose the basic form, mi, tu, su, or nuestro, determined by who owns it. After you've selected one of the four basic forms, you have to put the adjective in the correct form so that it agrees with the word that follows. Because they are adjectives, and in Spanish we know all adjectives have to agree with the word they're describing. Okay, there are three of these, me, tu, and su, that only have two forms. One is singular and one is plural. So if what is following the word is plural and has an S, you need to use the possessive adjective that also ends in S. And if it's singular, you would not. Nuestro is like any other adjective that ends in O, such as alto, blanco, etc. We know that they all have four forms based on number, but also the fact that all nouns in Spanish are either masculine and feminine. So you have to choose the correct form of four options with that one. The other three only have two options. Here are some practice opportunities with possessive adjectives. Note how the endings change depending on the word that follows. Mi libro, mi libro. Tu manzana, tu manzana. Su sombrero, su sombrero. Sus zapatos, sus zapatos. Nuestro desayuno, nuestro desayuno. Nuestra cena, nuestra cena. Nuestras blusas, nuestras blusas. Su abuela, su abuela. Mis primos, mis primos. Tus hermanas, tus hermanas. You see the end of the noun has an S. The end of the possessive adjective must have an S. Here's a little of what we were doing in class to change the perspective. So if you look at someone and ask them about this, ¿Es tu chaqueta? If they then flip it and talk back to you to respond, they're now talking about themselves. And so they respond, no, no es mi chaqueta. ¿Es tu chaqueta? No, no es mi chaqueta. ¿Son tus zapatos? No, no son mis zapatos. No son mis zapatos. Notice the S both on the tus and the mis, because you will also notice an S at the end of zapatos, and they have to agree. Son los zapatos de Juan. Son los zapatos de Juan. So we clarify, explaining exactly to whom these zapatos belong. And in Spanish, we pointed out that there is no possessive, apostrophe S possessive. We use de, and then the person who is the owner. So son los zapatos de Juan. In this case, we have two things changing. One is like the last slide in which we talked about changing perspective. So, ¿es nuestra casa? No, no es nuestra casa. Es la casa de mis abuelos. So, nuestra and nuestra stays the same because we're all talking about our house. And it's not changing because it's still casa, so it's nuestra in the first sentence, it's nuestra in the answer, and then for further clarification, you're explaining to whom it does belong, and here we're using a totally different possessive adjective, the me, putting it in the mis form because now we're talking about mis abuelos. So it's something you have to think about every time you have a sentence in Spanish in which you have an adjective. Here they're possessive adjectives. There could be other types of adjectives, and they always have to agree every single time with what they describe. Here we're changing from the de and a proper name to a possessive adjective because it's understood exactly whom we're speaking about. ¿Es la camisa de Mario? ¿Es la camisa de Mario? No, no es su camisa. No es su camisa. Su, which can mean different things, here means his. We started to go over these three paragraphs that I've written telling the same story but from different viewpoints. And you'll see I've highlighted the elements that are changing. In the first case, Mario is talking about himself. He's telling his own story. So note, yo soy Mario. Mi familia es grande. Tengo 8 hermanos. Mis padres viven en Cuba y son inteligentes y amables. Mi perro es grande y negro. Mi casa y mi carro son pequeños. Me gustan los teléfonos modernos, pero mi teléfono es antiguo. So everything refers back to a single person of Mario, and he's using me, different forms, the two different forms available of me. Note that tengo changes for yo, and soy becomes soy because of yo, and me gustan because the telephones are, remember, pleasing to me in this case. Now, as if you were hearing this and you're talking back to Mario, and we're talking directly to him, and we're talking about him. So it's the you, second person. Tú eres Mario. Tu familia es grande. I want to call attention to the fact that the first two has an accent mark. It means you, the familiar you, someone that you don't grasp. And then the second tu is the one we've been studying here, the possessive adjective, and there is no accent in that. It's pronounced, however, the same way. So, tu familia es grande, tienes 8 hermanos. Tu tienes 8 hermanos, and we can omit the subject in Spanish. Tus padres viven en Cuba y son inteligentes y amables. Note the tus with the s at the end of the possessive adjective to agree with the s at the end of padres. Tu perro es grande y negro. Tu casa y tu carro son pequeños. Te gustan, it is pleasing to you, or they are pleasing to you in this case. Te gustan los teléfonos modernos, pero tu teléfono es antiguo. And the last option is reporting, it's called. When you're talking about a third person, you're talking about Mario. So all of the things that we need to change, we take care of so that everything agrees the way it should. Él es Mario. And the él for he has an accent mark. Él for the, for masculine nouns, does not have an accent mark. Again, él es Mario. Su, here su means, it can mean different things we learned, but in this case, it is his. Su familia es grande. Él, I'm omitting, tiene 8 hermanos. So you may omit the subject in Spanish, but you have to think it because you have to put the verb in the correct form based on whatever the subject is. So, él tiene 8 hermanos. Sus padres, sus agreeing with padres, viven en Cuba y son inteligentes y amables. Su perro es grande y negro. Su casa y su carro son pequeños. Le gustan los teléfonos. I've changed it to le because we're saying he likes them or they are pleasing to him. So it's going to be le gustan los teléfonos modernos, pero su teléfono, his teléfono es antiguo. So there you are, looking at good old Mario and his little story from 3 different angles. I hope this mini slideshow is helpful to you, providing a review of what we've talked about in class now a few times and will continue to find as we speak Spanish, because the possessive adjectives, you learn them in whatever lesson, but they will pop up in subsequent lessons and in common conversation. So good luck with them. Remember to make them agree. Pick the person who's doing the owning and then look at the thing or person that is owned, such as my grandparent versus my grandparents, and change the endings of the possessive adjectives and whatever other adjective might be associated with the sentence accordingly. Good luck. Buena suerte a todos.